Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Traders Arena. It's Kevin here with another Tuesday afternoon crypto show. Looks like I'm rolling on YouTube. Ubis Tubis. So yeah, hello everyone. Looks pretty quiet out there in YouTube land for me at the moment. Another episode of Crypto is Born. It's pretty quiet around it's a little quiet around our community. Of course, we're a relatively small community just getting started. But it's a little dead out in the crypto land world. I suppose everybody's watching the live feed of SBF trial. If there is such a thing, I don't know. But I think Mr. SBF is taking the stand. I don't know. That's all. Supposedly, that's all fired up and running now. I haven't really been following it too closely, but I suppose it'll be nice to get that whole nonsense behind us for crypto. Maybe that can actually mark the bottom once they decide what they're doing with him. And of course, he'll probably walk. I don't know. Who knows? He'll get off easy, I'm sure, as these guys often do. Hey, David. So yeah, if anybody knows what's going on with that, keep us posted. I plan on paying attention to it, or zero attention to it, I should say. I'm not gonna watch any of that. But I guess drama's unfolding. I don't know what's going on with Mr. Bitboy, but he blew himself up, I suppose. Now SBF's gonna either get blown up or get sent to the. He'll probably be a senator by the end of next year or something. He'll be in government, but I don't know. The more this shit gets behind us, I suppose the better off we'll be. But what can we talk about today? I got some requests I'll look at. If anybody else has anything they want to look at, throw it in the chat, and I'll look at those names too. Nothing super exciting. If anything, they're selling the stock market off pretty hard today again. And crypto kind of ran out of steam. But maybe I'll just look at some broader market stuff really quick. Just make a couple comments about like DXY, for example, did finally hit the 50% level here. We've been watching this DXY rally, of course, for a while now. Just waiting to see if it's going to roll over ever and give crypto and risk on assets some relief. And so far the answer has been no. Just been straight up. I think on Sunday I was talking about this 13, most recently tagged the 13 EMA again, and then just kept trending higher. So the uptrend here is still intact. But we did come up into a somewhat interesting level just because it is a 50% level of the range off the top. I think it's kind of looks like it happened a little early as far as GAN 50% levels. GAN always said that a move would be taken, half the move would be taken back in about half the time. So a little earlier than half the time it looks like here, but nonetheless, we did complete that move. And of course, 50% level is always a nice price target if you're trading this, trading anything on like the daily time frame. It's or any setup really on any time frame. It's always a nice conservative, realistic target. If you're trying to buy the bottom of a range, for example, moves back to the 50% level is always good. It's a good target to use for your setups. But in this case, whether we roll over here or not, I mean, I don't know if there's much resistance right here. We did hit a 50% level, and of course, now we're putting in this kind of red candle for the day. So maybe we ran into some resistance here, and we'll back off a little bit, but it's not really much resistance up above here, all the way up to 61.8. Really, there's just kind of an open air gap here, fair value gap type thing sitting above here. So maybe 61.8 still in store before this thing truly rolls over. I suppose we're, RSI did get overbought here and maybe could M out. Not yet, but it's sort of putting in the potentials for a tiny little divergence there. So I suppose that's a sort of a shot across the bow for the DXY bulls. But I mean, there's nothing incredibly too bearish to say about any of this, except we've come a long way. So maybe a pullback's in order. But so far just shooting straight up, and the stock market's shooting straight down at the moment. So look at those things really quick too, and I'll just say with the SPY here, the ES or the S&P 500, sorry, we almost have hit that 200 period moving average that I've been talking about here most recently. Didn't find much of it. Caught a little bit of a bounce at the ABCD PRZ here, but not much. Just a little bit of a dead cat bounce. Actually, didn't even get up into the 13 EMA here before rolling over again. I think that was the last conversation from last week. Just do we bounce up into resistance here on the 13 EMA? And we didn't quite hit that, but now we've just rolled over, and this should be support here at the 200. I think if there's any uptrend left here, then we should see some kind of bounce off the 200 here. And we do have this key high back here as support too, and also even just this traffic area. Nice W that set up this move. We're just coming down into those levels. That's 418 or so on the SPY. So we'll see if we catch a bounce, but man, actually, it looks like this afternoon they're finally trying to bounce it a little bit. That candle was just solid red here about an hour or two ago. What are you guys saying in the chat here? David's got a few requests. Is it Paul or me playing violin in the intro? If we told you, you'd find out our other identities. So I don't think I can answer that question, but the hilarious part about that intro, I was just saying to Paul, I got to make an intro for the show because that's actually just the outro from our other show. I just use it because I'm too lazy to make an intro for this show. And let's see. I'm not sure what you mean, David. Do you see SR Spartan resistance horizontal levels as Paul does? I'm thinking BTC somewhere around 28%, for example. I don't know what you mean. 28K. Oh, well, we'll look at that in just a second. And is Adam and Eve valid if the W is lower than the V bottom? That's a good question. I don't necessarily have an answer for that. I kind of think no. No, and Adam and Eve, you want to see that W come in above the V bottom. We can look at an example of that too. You're seeing on Matic. We'll look at Matic here in a minute. But I'll just leave the S&P here with just saying, let's see if we bounce here. And that, of course, we should, if the DXY can roll over, then this should bounce also right here. If the DXY just keeps crushing higher to Mountain Man, who knows? Maybe we just have to oscillate around the 200 a little bit. And of course, any sort of oscillation around here would be expected as well. It doesn't have to just bounce right off of here, although I do see that happen quite a lot. And I'd actually drawn the 50% level on here, and that's kind of an example of GAN. Basically took 196 bars to make this whole up rally, up move. And so 98 bars would sort of be the suggested target to hit the 50% level, which is at 403 here. Quite a bit lower, so but also quite a bit more time. So maybe we bounce off the 200 and then roll over again, and somewhere down here around December, end of the year, we end up right around here at the 50% level, 403. That seems totally reasonable and likely. Of course, like crypto rolling into the end of the year too with lower levels is pretty expected. Well, I don't know if I should say expected. I'm sort of looking for that. Kind of think prices will be weaker into the end of the year, so that all makes sense. So we'll see if the S&P finds itself down here by January or December. NASDAQ, I'll say that it's got plenty more room to get down, keep heading lower. It hasn't even hit the ABCD yet, so there's that level at 347 on the QQQ. And NASDAQ did hit the 13 EMA, so there's a classic beginning of a medium-term downtrend, I'd say. Clearly we got a nice M back here, and we got to retest the M. That's not great for the bulls. But now that the moving averages have actually fully crossed over, and actually you can see the M in the 13 EMA, that's not a good sign at all. You can just see that the actual moving average is M'd out now. But bounce into the 13 EMA, the S&P didn't hit that, but that's pretty classic, right? You could find examples of that all over trading, including on the upside here. Like look, when we crossed here, first tag was a nice bullish test of the 13, and then we just kind of been bullishly testing it all the way up. So if that happens on the reverse here, you can even see it here. We crossed, and then the day after the first cross, we got rejected off the 13 EMA. And sure, we bounced up in the reload zones, got above those moving averages again, but the cross never held any weight, and now we're just rolled over, crossed again, bearish. And the NASDAQ has a lot more room to fall than the S&P. So I don't know. There's all this open air here. There's not really any support in this area until, we get down to 38.2 and this key high and 200 SMA on the daily. So there is like all this confluence here at 334, but that's quite a bit lower. So looking generally bearish. And not really a lot of support. I mean, I gotta say, I don't know. Do you see a lot of support here? Just right in this level here, I don't see much. When I look left here, I just see a fair value gap right here. There's just not a lot to suggest we're gonna bounce right here. And this is a big M. Remember, like you can see the M's now in. Got some little M's on each side of the M, so it's some sort of triple M. That doesn't look great. And Russ 2000 small caps also just getting hammered all the way already down in the bottom of the range. I mean, that's 78.6 where we're sitting right now off of the, if you're just to kind of call this a range from this high to this low here, we're already down, below reload zones at this point. So it doesn't look like a bounce is coming in. But if anything, I mean, starting to get oversold. OBV's just pointing straight down, no bottoms. So just might have to keep grinding lower here. I don't know. Of course, in crypto, everybody's talking about October, so we'll talk about that here in a second too, and whether or not that's a fake out. But real quick before that, we'll get into Bitcoin a bit, and then maybe I'll try to look at your question, David, a little closer. I got this messy ass Bitcoin chart. The only, I'll just say that this perfect example of ABCDs. Nice ABCD setup, and this is actually the TRI bot setup on the lower time frames that completed perfectly and then just got immediately rejected at the PRZ. So if you are familiar with TRI and TRI bot setups, this is pretty classic, nice ABCD trade that basically took us up into 25.91, and you can see it just immediately got rejected on that level. So that's not a huge surprise. It's also kind of an FU of the range. Like we'd talked about this sort of being the range of late, with this high up here at like 28.2 and then the lows down here. And so they just basically FU'd that high, which was really just up into resistance here. You can see that, the sort of ugly M. I'm not saying that's a really nice looking M, but nonetheless, we M'd out here and set up this key low. And then as we ran up into it, which was an FU of this high here, they just rejected right there. That's not a huge surprise. So like they're, sucking people in on the long side here, but really just getting up in resistance. Perfect example of how markets range more than not. And so, this was an established range, so it wasn't a huge surprise that it was going to have a little bit of difficulty staying above there once it broke out. And the fact that we got no strength above the range there is not a good sign. That's a classic like FU move, not even a candle body close above that level, I don't think. Yeah. Actually, that's not true. We did close candle bodies up there, but just had no staying power. It's sort of been the MO of Bitcoin lately. Every time it rallies, it just gets knocked right back down. So now, suppose what do we say now? I mean, clearly the same conversation is still intact where it's like the key support's down here at 28.3 or whatever that is. 28, sorry, I'm not 28, I'm sorry, 25,300, which, is that sort of key level that I just keep talking about. I guess I'm on a 4-hour chart still, but head and shoulders neckline, we're just, that's our support. And so as long as we're above that, I think we're relatively still in a bullish uptrend for the moment, but it's definitely being tested pretty hard here. And as far as like trading goes, I think it's hard to do anything right here on the long side. You're probably best off drawing fibs off the lows here and just kind of hunting reload zones down here at 25.8 again and below. And funny enough, we're at the fucking trend line again. I swear, every time I do these shows on Sunday, I feel like on Sundays and Tuesdays every week, I open this chart and it's just right at this stupid trend line. And it's hilarious. We're just sitting there again, about to close right on it if we stay where we are here. So this is like a battle, I'd say. Right? This kind of the whole conversation about are we an uptrend or are we breaking the uptrend? This is just the battle that's going on trying to figure that out. We have the 200 period resistance, which also is those other levels I was just talking about. So, we lost the 200 and banged up against the underside of it, which is very typically resistance. And now we have this trend line, which we're kind of battling with. We've been oscillating around it. And so those are those two of those uptrend, two of the trend ID reasons that I was talking about several weeks ago, just sort of trying to get into this idea of how do you call a trend or not a trend. The battle's still going. So it's just funny as hell that we're just right there at the trend line again. We might be playing with this trend line for a while. And of course, any sort of M's on the other side of it would probably suggest lower. Any sort of W consolidations, and maybe we get back up into short reload zones and short locations of the whole range, which is like, 29,200 and above, kind of 61.8 levels. But definitely looks like we're still just kind of, I do think we have this range here. I mean, of course, you have the bigger range to think about if we can start pushing higher. But for the moment, I think we've carved out a nice range about, 28.5 down to 24. Why do I feel like I'm reading all these numbers wrong? 24,900 is that level. And then up top is 28,500. So I don't know, not a lot of new information here to talk about Bitcoin zoomed out. So the VIP guys like Paul and those guys were shorting Bitcoin here at the top. It's funny enough, that's a 50% level too. I guess I didn't say that, but continuing the conversation of 50% levels, I mean, that's essentially all they did was run it up into the 50% level too, which was just another confluence. So you had, if you're just trying to use confluence to determine levels, you could have argued there's several reasons to look for shorts here. The ABCD, obviously, the 200 is a little lower, but I still think, I talked about, shorts against candle body highs here and the 200 for the last couple weeks. But also this key M top, ugly M kind of market structure top, which is right on the 50% level. So there's several location reasons there to be interested in shorting. Lower time frames, of course, not so much daily time frame shorts. So anyway, what else can I say about Bitcoin? So we're in the sandwich. I will say for the bulls, the moving averages are cross bullishly here. So we probably have some sort of support here around 26,990. So we'll see what happens. If we can bounce off that 13 and move higher, then it is still trying. I mean, it's relatively bullish, I would say. I don't know. It's kind of this ugly ass price action is not really setting up very pretty, but it is hanging in there. And it was relatively uppy until the last 2 days. And I think we have strong support here, to be honest. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that are keeping the price up above here, and I don't think Bitcoin's truly broken. Now, into the end of the year, I still think it's just a question of how dippy do we dip? Maybe there's a W somewhere in here. I don't know. Does it come all the way back down to reload zones, or does it set up in like Collins pump chaser zones? We'll just have to wait and see. But I do think there's going to be that end of the year kind of bottom. That's the next true buy opportunity and time to load up on altcoins. And I think buying altcoins into the end of the year is still the game plan. Paul said he made 2% on that short, so that's cool. What was David saying about the Adam and Eve? I don't know if, are you talking about, you're talking about Matic on the Adam and Eve. The Bitcoin you're asking, let's see, do I use support and resistance horizontal levels as Paul does? I'm thinking BTC somewhere around 28K, for example. They seem strong. Yeah, well, that's 28K support and resistance. So that's 28 here. I mean, you're talking resistance, right? I see horizontal resistance would be this key M structure top, which is 28,500. So I don't know if you're talking about that, but yeah, sure, that's the key level. I mean, flipping back to like things like the Nasdaq, remember I was saying there was no horizontal support and resistance anywhere near where price is on that. Whereas here, that's a pretty clear resistance level, especially when you have those other levels I was just talking about. There's several resistance levels there. What else are you guys saying here? Yeah, it was framed. Oh yeah, that short was framed in the London session. I guess I could probably show you guys that. Maybe I could find that. I know it was in the I don't know if it was in the premium room here. I'll show you guys Paul's trade for fun. Oh yeah, I think here it is. Yeah, so this is way zoomed in, but while we're just looking at shit, I can show you guys. This was framed out for the London session, guys. I think this is it. Yeah, this looks like it. Just, you know, you can see the cheeky little M there. This is a 5-minute chart, so of course it's zoomed in, super low scalping timeframes, but this is kind of the trend line, trend line setup. M on the other side of the trend line. Had to take a little bit of heat. And then, of course, now prices has already completed this, but that was the short that was set up in the London session for those guys. I guess that would have been like last night for me. So that's cool. Kind of classic. This is a pretty good example of the kind of stuff that the London session and the New York session trades that come in. And of course, we have our VIP group, which is essentially just people are, Stefan and Paul are providing setups, there's people that are taking the exact levels that are being provided to them by Paul and Stefan. So that's kind of our VIP group, which we don't really talk about a ton, but we did actually, they did offer a 50% off sale for this month. It's a little late to join now. I don't think it's closed now, but if you are somebody that's interested, or if you're somebody that knows how to manage your risk, you basically know how to size your position and take trades, and you're just looking for some sort of direction, VIP can be a pretty good way to do that. It is limited to people that do have an understanding of trading, though. If you're brand new and you can't prove to Paul and Stefan that you can, act accordingly, they're not going to let you in. So I was still open for 2 more days. So yeah, if you are interested in that, you could reach out to Paul and Stefan and talk to them about joining the VIP. And they basically provide trades on a daily basis, everything from lots of scalping and then lots of swing trades and stuff like that too. And every day, well, at least 5 days a week. And they take quite a lot of trades. And I think last month they were up like 14% at the end of the month, if I remember correctly. So it is working away and people are making money and everybody's happy. And we don't talk about that too much, but actually, while I'm at it, I'll just mention our website because I have it up here too. We did just launch our cryptotradersarena.com, which is kind of exciting. We up until now hadn't had a website up, but we're making slow progress here, and check us out here. So I mean, this is mostly just sort of a portal into our Discord community and stuff, but you can see Paul makes the daily plan videos here every day around the London session. Of course, him and I are also doing this show on Sundays, so these will always be here if you're ever looking for them and want a quick way to grab those. Go to cryptotradersarena.com. And we got some people praising us. We have our premium membership, which all that stuff's here. And of course, we're in the middle of our Capio 1 training course right now too. We're at week 4 starting this week. So we got through the first 3 weeks of like sort of planning and risk management and actually stuff like position sizing, doing all that the first 3 weeks. And now we'll be moving into technical analysis. And I suppose sometime in the next month or so, we'll be opening up this program again, most likely. We don't have direct plans on how we're going to go about doing that, but this is sort of our offering. We have our premium membership. And of course, we have our Discord channel that's free to everyone. If you're not in that now, you can pop in there, and there's a link to that in this on this website. Well, there's our VIP too, which, like I said, is 50% off this month, but so it's a little cheaper. But you can join our Discord here if you'd like, and if you are in our free room on Discord, you can then also follow the trading plan that we're working on for this show. So we have a full trading plan investing in altcoins that's just basically summarized every week on this show. And then we have like our spreadsheet on there on our Discord that sort of marks out all our levels, and you can follow along with that if you want. So I suppose we're making some progress here, just trying to build a trading community. Our intention is to, by the next bull run, we want to be fully up and running and just, I'm sure we'll have grown a lot by then. So join us if you'd like. And of course, no pressure on any of the money stuff, but we do charge a fee for our premium members. And then, of course, the VIP have a fee too. So what else can I say here? That's our website. I just wanted to show you guys that. I guess I jumped a little away from my conversation about Bitcoin here, but there's nothing to say here other than maybe we keep this uptrend. Maybe we stay above this trend line, and we'll see. But for now, I'm looking a little weak today. I will say that we did get this RSI divergence. It's a nice example of how, I mean, you could have probably framed I don't think we hit Mountain Man necessarily, but there might have been a trade in here as we got the divergence confirmed, back in this area. And then this pullback here, I don't think actually hit Mountain Man. But I suppose that would have been a potential long opportunity. They just front ran Mountain Man by a hair there. But point being, that's a pretty good example of a solid divergence setting up and confirming, and using that as a reason to take a trade would have been reasons to justify thinking longs in here, and even thinking this bot for that matter. You would have had confirmed divs here to work with, and that would have given you a little bit more support to take this ABCD trade. OBV never truly W'd or anything. And now we're just sort of floating here a little bit under overbought. So still room to grind higher. No M's or anything. No structural tops. I mean, there's there's kind of an M in OBV here, it looks like, but I don't think it's truly an M. Yeah, we sort of barely just ticked to a new high there, but still kind of a little bit of a breakdown in OBV. And then the potential for like a 3-bar top here, depending on how we open tomorrow. And I suppose if we tick through that level there, then we might have to just back down here against support. Yeah. Sorry, my throat is really dry today. I've been talking on these microphones too much lately. Ethereum also took back all the move. I don't know, very clear off of the same high. This is very similar to Bitcoin. They just essentially took out the high, which was 38.2s, and just complete rejection. And now we're just back against 13 EMAs. So you can see it trying to bounce. Now we have crossed EMAs, and it is trying to bounce off that 13 EMA. So if there's any sort of up momentum behind this still, then we should see a bounce off of here. And of course, there is like a W working now. And I'd been talking about this sort of triangle-y looking breakout that was kind of happening, and also an RSI here. You can see now RSI is coming back down on the 50 line here. So maybe we can maintain some sort of bounce off this level. Should make sense. This is essentially just a Wyckoff check of the W, right? So we have a W in, now we just came back against it. Reasonable place to see a bounce. I think resistance really is up here for Ethereum. So any higher moves up into the 200 and probably looking for that same rejection. And that would be sort of the structural top. Again, an ugly M. It's not really very clean, but it sets up this 1800 level right at the 200 to get rejected. So any sort of bounces, if we do get them up into here, is probably another place to look for a rejection. And actually getting close to Mountain Man just above there too. So not a lot to say other than we never hit the ABCD yet. So that's still active. And this trend line, a tag of the trend line here off the lows, the original bottom. That's still kind of looming there. So like that's 1500. So maybe we roll over, take out these lows here and take all the liquidity of those lows and then bounce off the trend line. So I guess there's like a range here established at like the 1500s ish, and then the 200 MA at like 1800, and Mountain Man just a little bit above at 1836. Is shorts up here and longs down against the lows would be like sort of what I'd be hunting in like lower time frames. OBV looks a little more W than Bitcoin. Not really a clean W, but it is trying to turn. So I don't know. Generally, Bitcoin and Ethereum look like they're just kind of hanging in there. I mean, well, Bitcoin has support. I don't really see much support, truthfully, in Ethereum here. Like I could get rid of some of this stuff. I've just kind of been leaving these drawings on here after conversations, but they're not that important. I like the ABCD being tagged, and so I do like that level. But when you really kind of look back here and look to the left, there's not a lot of support after these these kind of equal lows. So if we can't FU those lows and bounce off this trend line, then there is just sort of like this tail here looming all the way down to Mountain Man basically, and this old W breakout level. So going back to that sort of David's question about support and horizontal support and resistance, like if you were going to just draw some horizontal support and resistance on Ethereum, I'd say that first was this one, which we kind of been playing with here. So it's still acting as support, I'd say. We're oscillating around it. We've got a W around it, and now we're trying to bounce off the 13 EMA. So I think that 1620 level is some sort of horizontal support. Now, of course, that's also an M breakdown level. So if we start closing below there, we do have this massive M working. But point being is if you, once we lose these levels, these are equal lows now. So that's kind of a liquidity trap, or sort of I don't know if that's the right word, but there's stops looming down here that are just asking to be taken out by market makers. So I mean, seeing price dip down into that 1500 level seems likely, and if we can't bounce off those levels, then we'd have to start looking left for other support and resistance. And I don't really see much. There's this tail that's just like a magnet. That's all the way down to 1300. There's not really any support between these lows and that low. So a lot of open air. And then after that, I see this, 1350 is Mountain Man. So there's some confluence here for a bounce, but that's quite a bit lower than where we are right now. So I don't know. And over the last few weeks, I haven't been super excited about Ethereum for the bulls. I was a little surprised to see this W come in before that ABCD, but what can you do? I don't know. It's not like I was trying to make a definitive call. Just sort of, I do these. If anything, I'm just trying to pique people's interest. You guys got to decide for yourself. I mean, you can fucking counter trade me if you want. I'm just trying to offer like a perspective on the market. It's not supposed to be right or wrong. And so anyway, that's what I see here. Otherwise, the conversation is very much the same in crypto. Just sort of patiently waiting for a bottom to come in while we, quietly accumulate here, trying to get ready for some sort of bounce next year. Hopefully, I do think there'll be I wouldn't be surprised to see the market kind of rip up just right after the end of the year, just kind of like this year. And of course, the Bitcoin halving conversation, that would make sense. We did last week, I walked through this APT trade because we had just had taken it that day. I think that was right here on that pullback here. So this was a kind of a swing trade from our premium room. I thought it'd be cool to pull it up and see what happened. And funny enough, we're just right back at the entry. It did, this is pretty classic. W came in. I'm going to ditch these moving averages. W broke out, pull back to the W breakout level was the entry. Nice bounce and was looking really good here as crypto was pretty solid. Altcoins were pretty solid all through the week until basically just recently. And so this trade's just working away. Now we're back at the entry again. You can see it trying to bounce off that level again here. Not a lot to do. If you're already in this trade, you're just sitting here waiting on it. I don't know if we actually hit 1-to-1s here. And actually this is on here because this was part of our discussion in our training program this week when we were doing position sizing. I was using this as an example. But maybe if you're the type of person that takes some profit off the table at 1-to-1, I don't think you got 1-to-1, did you? No, not quite. So the trade's just working away. But it's just to keep us honest, I'll just point that out. And otherwise, it's just very common, buying a W. Can hunt divergences and all that stuff too on I don't think there's OBV divergence specifically, but we were getting W's here, and I'm sure like RSIs and stuff, like there was a tick to a new low here, and I wouldn't be surprised if you could go find divergences on MACDs and RSIs and all that stuff. But we'll see what happens here with crypto being, it's just like if crypto can do this October thing and this was, remember last week, this was more like Sunday. We were talking about all these daily W's. There's quite a lot of daily W's in altcoins right now. And it's just a question of, do they hold? And do we kind of have this October environment that people keep saying, which is probably a bad sign that everybody's saying it on Twitter, but there's this kind of general thinking that October is going to happen and we'd probably grind, trades like this would work out. And there's a lot of these daily W's. It's just a question of if they end up failing or not. And it wouldn't, be unreasonable to think they might take out the W's first. Just this, this W is basically just faking people out, getting people sucked into the long side, and then they'll take them all out first and then move the market higher. Something like this is fine as a short-term trade, but like if you're trying to invest in APT right here, you can, there is a lot of downside risk. So once we lose those lows, there's all this sort of open air down here for price to take, lose quite a bit more value. It's sitting at 540 here, and it could easily end up down. This is just a V bottom, so there's just plenty of room for this to come back down to these levels. It's kind of like more of like a investor levels. So these kind of trades. This is what we were saying on Sunday. It makes sense to take these kind of trades. I don't know if it makes sense to have unreasonable targets. Maybe use things like previous ranges. Like if you establish a range here, these range highs here at 790. If you can squeeze your trade out underneath that, you're probably better off than trying to look for like big moves for doubles and stuff like that. And maybe like what were some of the other daily W's? I think like maybe Ave was one. I don't know about that one. I mean, it's there. It's kind of ugly, but same thing. This one's a little farther along. So if you were buying this W here and your targets are up at the top of the range, that seems to make more sense than thinking we're going to get all the way up here in this October environment. But that one seems to be working. What are some other ones that I remember offhand? I know there's several, but they're not coming to me right this second. Maybe this lit, not really a daily W. Yeah, there are several though. So, maybe this KNC. Actually, these are KNC's like almost a weekly W, but same idea though. This one came in a little earlier. That was September 15th that it actually broke out. But it's pretty classic. Actually, that's a nice trade right there. Same kind of thinking. If you were to just have your reload zones drawn here. You can see the range had carved itself out. Price moved up against the top of the range, got rejected, came back down into like 78.6s and stuff like that. And we started putting in, I don't know if MACD divergences, OBV divergences weren't really coming in there, but it was trending up. And then we got that W on the same time as the price action. But if you happen to be buying that W, this is the kind of trades I'm thinking are more like October trades. This one was probably a little earlier to fire, but same thing. If you were like risk into these lows, for example, probably already banged a 2-to-1 out. Yeah. So like, that's what I would consider a reasonable target. It's probably in the reload zone of the short range at least. So like, yeah, it was like a perfect mountain man. So that's kind of like, fib range sort of ping pong. And I think those are the kind of targets you should probably have in mind if you're trading these W's. That's the only point I'm trying to make. Yeah, what the hell else can I talk about? I do have some requests. I suppose I could just jump right into. And okay. Let me see here. I got to go find my list. I know one of them was FitFi, which I thought was funny. This is one I had to actually walk away from because it was a Qcoin only, and I unfortunately had to liquidate it. And then I noticed it did rip or after the fact, although I think I was long from higher anyway. This was one of them. I'm going to go to a weekly chart here. And it does have a nice weekly W. So that's actually not kind of rare in the current environment. There's not a lot of weekly W's, although this one actually didn't. I don't know. I mean, it's like they like FU'd the old low. So it's not truly a W there, but we do have like a W working in general with not a very strong close here. They ripped it up and took it right back, which is sort of the state of crypto right now. And somebody was asking me if this looks interesting to me now. And my only comment to this would say, I mean, it looks like the move's already over. So yeah, there is kind of a weekly W, and there's kind of a W and or definitely a W and OBV now. And nice volume. I mean, clearly something happened over the last several weeks. Of course, crypto is just super dead back here. There's just no volume, all the way into the end of last year. And then, of course, prices just collapsed here. But the question is, when this happens, do you want to jump right back in there? I don't think this is the environment to do that. Like if we were in a true bull market, then I think it would be reasonable to say, okay, I'm just going to go and hit whether you draw off that low or even one of these two lows, you could, are you going to go in here and just hit one of these levels like 78.6, for example? That's okay. But like, I don't think we're really in that kind of environment. It might just be better to wait for this thing to truly set up again, because whatever happened here, whatever drove price up here had no staying power. So yeah, maybe they bounce it a little bit. Not really my style at the moment to jump in right here. It's probably better just to let this thing cool off into the end of the year, set up another W, whether that's above this low or we have to go to make new lows. It's hard to say, but it's a nice base, So, I mean, if you love this coin, I think this thing's like a step-in type movement. What do they call those? Fucking walk around and get paid apps. Yeah, I personally think, I mean, a nice bottom's trying to base, so it's nice that it is setting up some sort of base. It does have some sort of a weekly W working. OBV is trying to push up in decent volume, but it's just not enough. I think it's better to wait for this to truly play out. But if you love this thing, of course, you're not buying horrible location here, so I wouldn't fault anybody for nibbling on it if they just want to own this thing. Just maybe keep it conservative, go slowly, and either dollar cost average your way in or just break your bids up. I have no rush. I mean, in general, I have no rush to jump into any of this shit, to be honest. But it looks okay. And of course, this one, like I said, I had to walk away from this thing because I couldn't find a place to, Coinbase or Kraken doesn't have it, and I wasn't really interested in putting it in a wallet and holding on to it. What else I got here? I can't even see that one. Actually, yeah, when you guys send me requests, you should send me the name too, so I don't have to pull the chart up, because I can never, it's hard to read the charts. Some acro, yeah. I think that one just took off recently too. Yeah, so this is another one that maybe it's like the move's already over, unfortunately. If you were in it, cool, but if not, yeah, it's this same conversation. Nice looking chart though. I mean, first off, nice looking chart for sure. OBV's trending higher. Actually in divergence back here where we were making new lows. Nice W here. If you were to buy that breakout, you probably already got a double, at least. But the question is do you step right back in and reload? Maybe if you've already gotten a double. But is there any rush right here to buy it? I don't think so. So I don't know. Nice level though. Like if this was a bull market, like if we were already in a bull, then buying the previous market structure, just hitting that level 78.6, that's a classic TRI shark setup, which is a setup that I've used much in my life or my crypto life. Works really well. It's just right now, I don't think, we're not in that point of the cycle to really justify these like a big bounce off this level. It doesn't mean it won't happen. It could. It's just that, why put your money to risk, when you might just have to hold this thing forever, maybe even to new lows. It might be better to wait for it to set up again. Because whatever, again, like the last one, whatever happened here did not have any staying power, just pump and dump. So, it's nice. And if you like this name, why not nibble back down here? At least you're buying at 78.6. So I don't fault anybody for that. It's just, I don't know, wait for, this could take, it could do this, like it could easily do this, go to new lows and take forever to finally like W somewhere down here into the end of the year. Of course, I drew that out to like September of next year, but somewhere over here. So no rush. In my opinion. Of course, if you want to be more aggressive than me, then more power to you. I'm not very aggressive at this point in altcoins. I just am quietly waiting and just kind of nibbling here and there when I can, but not blowing the wad. And I do truly, I keep saying this, but just let's see what happens at the end of the year. Let's see where we're at from right now to the end of the year. And if we're way higher, then I'm wrong. And if we're not higher, then I guess I'm right. Either way, that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna wait for weekly W's and wait for my OBV divergences, and I don't see that here. Now, if you got doubles already, sure, okay. Now you might as well start adding your second car. I could see that. I, for that matter, did not get a double on this, and I don't even think I can trade it. So it's funny. I'm in this funny situation where I'm doing these shows for people, but I can't even trade half this shit very easily because I'm in the good old USA. But maybe that makes me an unbiased participant. Of course, I'm still going to trade altcoins where I can. It's just some names like this. I mean, I still have a lot to choose from too, by the way. It's not that bad. It's just that there's stuff like this and that FitFi, and there are a lot of names I can't access, but there's quite a bit that I can. And let's see, moving on. What else I got here? Oh yeah, True USD, which also looks like it was kind of ripping. I guess that's this one, yeah. No, it's not really ripping. Is this the same chart? Yeah, it looks like it. That looks pretty nice. So this one is, compared to those other two, this one seems like this kind of a good example. So like, what's the point of buying levels here? Wasn't particularly bullish market. Maybe you got doubles in this rip here. And so you draw your reload zones and you start buying 78.6 here at 0.052. And now you're just underwater waiting. It's not a big deal. Like you're just kind of waiting for the trade to play out, but you would have had to be sitting in this for many weeks while it did nothing. And I think that's probably the fate of the other two that we were just looking at. However, this one now has started to round out and bottom out. And you can see W's coming in OBV. So this one's actually starting to base. And actually, that's the OBV divergence, it looks like. Yep. Oh, it's not confirmed yet. We got to take out that low, or that high, sorry. But that looks like divergence is coming in. So yeah, for me, I just need to see a weekly W here. So any kind of, I don't know. This is sort of a W in there, really small one. I don't like that. But maybe we just kind of do something like that, and then that breakout is the confirmation kind of that I'm looking for. Nice location though, sitting at 88.6, and just I don't know, working away. Same thing. If you love this True USD, I can't really fault anybody for buying it right here. Even you're not chasing per se, maybe chasing just a little bit because you'll likely be able to get filled a little lower. But location's at 88.6. You can't really fault somebody for taking their shot here, as long as you've proper, as long as you, God, I'm having a hard ass time choosing my words. As long as you follow proper risk management. Like if you're just, if your risk is managed and your position is sized accordingly, then why not take a shot? Just, accept the fact that if these lows are lost, then you might have to either walk away or take on, go underwater for a while if you're risking a zero. But there's a massive difference between buying this 88.6 level and buying somewhere up here. Those are two different things. We don't want to do that. We don't want to buy a huge ripping up market. But once things calm down like this, sure, if you want to take your shot, go for it. Again, I always like to wait for weekly W's here, and especially in this current environment that I think we're in. Kind of see a head and shoulders here. Let's see if this happens. Just basically something like that, and that's the head. And something, yeah, so we pop up a little bit more, pull back. That might be a nice buying opportunity. And you kind of like daily W's in there with divergences and stuff. And maybe I can show you what a real head and shoulders looks like here real quick. This is a head and shoulders in crypto. So you see the shoulder and the head and the shoulder. So that's a bearish one, unfortunately. This guy's very bearish. So a pretty good example of head and shoulders, though. So this would be an inverse head and shoulders, I should say. So I don't know. I've talked about that lately a lot. Um, I don't know. This is a weak head, to be fair. It's not very much lower than the shoulder, but it's still, these kind of bottoms come in a lot. And actually, David was talking about Adam and Eve bottoms, and he was asking if an Adam and Eve needs to hold the V bottom, and I'd say yeah. I don't have the exact answer. In fact, the best place to find that answer is go dig through that candlepatternsight.com or Bulkowski's this guy, what is it, Candle Pattern Site? Is that what it is? I don't know. Let's see, Bulkowski. Oh yeah, right here. Well, I googled it recently. I can't remember his site. Oh yeah, the pattern site. Go look at this site. Go dig through here. I love this site. I can't remember where he has all those patterns, but he has a whole page on here where he shows Adam and Eve's and all those different types of long-term market bottoms. And this guy's awesome. I mean, his website doesn't look like much, but that's just because he's an old schooler. If you go digging through here, there's just like tons of awesome information in here. So you could go read about Adam and Eve somewhere in there. But I think in general, you probably want to see an Adam and Eve would be, and essentially an Adam and Eve is just a V bottom and then a pop of some sort and then a W bottom. So I think you want that low to hold. FTX shoulder. Yeah, watch out for the bearish SBF HNS. Just I don't know what's going to happen. Is do you think SBF trial is bearish or bullish? What do people think? Of course, they'll probably drag that shit out forever. I'm sure it's not going to wrap up anytime soon. I don't know if there'll be any kind of like, what was it, Johnny Depp and whatever that woman's name is. Is there going to be any stories where like Caroline took a dump on SBF's bed? That shit is so funny to me. Turns out Caroline. Anyway, sorry. Let's see. What else can I get to? Those are my first few requests. Then we were going to look at Matic, which was actually David's question. So we'll look at Matic, which I was just thinking about Matic today too, because I saw it was kind of up on the day when I was looking through. I mean, real quick, I'll just mention on CoinMarketCap, I was looking through. There's not a lot up, there's just like 10 or so names green on the day at the moment. And there's not a lot of big numbers here. There's Gallo is up 6%, but man, it's like on its knees when you go look at the chart. Matic seemed to make it in there in this. I guess this is probably the top 100 really, but not a lot of ripping coins today. You'd see I've been talking about Matic in this sort of situation for a while here, and it seems like it's just working away. You can kind of see, that's what a typical bottom looks like. And this is a potential Adam and Eve. Yeah. I think you need this low to hold. And I do think this candle body low here at 38 is a nice buy level, even though, I mean, again, with Matic, just look at all the downside here. So if it does have to lose the levels, there's just plenty of room for it to come all the way back down to the bottom. So you're kind of counting on this Adam and Eve to come in, which there's not a lot of information saying it will right here. I mean, look at OBV is just a big ol' M. And, it'd be nice to see some sort of divergence from that low to that low, just to kind of give you some faith here, but I don't see anything there. I just see, I see that candle body low. Which is kind of close to 88.6, but that's a nice level there at 37 to maybe take your shot. And then of course, if it loses that low, you got all this downside risk. So keep that in mind. But look at OBV in general. Matic was pretty strong here at the beginning of the year. Look at that 88.6 tag, which is amazing. I mean, that would be an example of you hit a level and it worked. So like I was kind of talking about just hitting levels, if you were to hit even 78.6 and just hold it, you would have, you'd have gotten a double there. So, I mean, clearly whoever popped in there, got that bounce, which, it does happen. It's just, I don't think, again, going back to the sort of, like, should you have done that here? Now we've drawn our fibs here, and you can see 78.6 was tagged, and we got some sort of bounce, and now we've rolled over again, and we're just back to square one, essentially. That's sort of the climate we're in right now. I don't see any, this was, again, this is the end of the year, I think, right? Well, that was May. So yeah, Matic's kind of going against the grain as the rest of crypto, though, to be honest, because it based in June of last year, May, June. So that's not quite the same as most crypto. Most crypto was grinding it out into the end of the year. I suppose, yeah, because FBX or FTX or SBF. When was that? That was in November, right? So that was here. So Matic didn't care about SBF at all, or was it October? Maybe it was right there. That was probably the SBF dip, but it was after Matic was pumping. So Matic didn't much care about FTX. Whereas the rest of the market did, is my only point. So Matic's kind of going against the grain. And I kind of like my little yellow lines here, but yeah, David, for your Adam and Eve, you can't say there's an Adam and Eve yet because we don't have a W. But if it's going to be an Adam and Eve, I think you got to hold those lows. So Andre's asking to look at E-Gold. Cool. This E-Gold, I suppose if I really want to be big in Romania, which is really the only reason I'm doing any of this, I'm trying to increase my popularity in Romania. And I suppose I shouldn't talk shit about E-Gold if I want to do that, so I can't say anything too bearish. Basically, if I become just a E-Gold Romanian shill through this bull market, I'll be happy. I mean, I have this little W on here. That pretty much is all that I really could say. Is it's basically making lower lows here. Still a lot of open air all the way down to the original W, way down at 1078. I know Paul likes to talk about E-Gold at $10. And that's just probably because of that little, that's not even really a W, but whatever that, it's very double bottomy looking. And I think that's a nice level to just use as a gauge here. Of course, that's more than 50% off. So waiting for W's. I mean, well, just to do my typical analysis, I'd say one, there's OBV's just M and out. So this, location's clearly okay. It's below 88, way below 88.6 is the range. I mean, of course, E-Gold has so much upside. And I do like the idea of dollar cost average in E-Gold here. Kind of created a little zone here by just taking that high. And of course, this is Binance. Maybe there's more history, but if you just use that high, you can see how we kind of tried to base off of it. Even tried to power 3 a little bit. Couldn't get back into the bulls. Bulls couldn't get control again here. And we just kept grinding lower. And so definitely dollar cost averaging isn't the worst idea, but as far as the bottom, I don't think so. I mean, there's an M and OBV sort of trying to put in a cheeky little W, but it hasn't quite been able to. And then we have all this downside risk. So, I do expect this to just kind of keep grinding lower, which is kind of what I think about crypto in general. So wherever this W comes in, I think that's where you want to be a buyer. That's good old E-Gold. I wanted to mention Sol because, geez, what the hell? I don't know what I'm doing there. Sol is strange, not strangely, but it's funny that Sol's looking kind of bullish here while the SBF trial kind of kicks off. Now, I mean, a little different to E-Gold, you can at least kind of see the base being built here. We did actually get it a weekly W. It's just sort of a weird looking Star Wars spaceship looking weekly W, but I mean, there's basically a double bottom working. And then if you draw a trend line off that, you can see how we just sort of tested the trend line. It's just kind of battling against the trend line. Also kind of did most of the damage already. We sort of explored most of the lower part of this old bottom. Not to say that we couldn't get all the way down to this $5 mark, which is way lower than where we are right now at 23. So to be fair, there's tons of room for Sol to come down. But as long as we're sort of sticking to this trend line, maybe we put in a nice W here. It's generally looks pretty good. Of course, this was probably, yeah, that was old SBF right there, huh? This big old red candle. So it's funny how that's the damage that was done, and now we're just slowly bottoming. Now maybe they have to still work it lower, but in general, I like the looks of Sol here. I don't know about buying it at $23. I suppose it's like a double off the lows right here. Yeah, the lows were at 8 or 9, so it's actually like 3x almost off the. I'll stick with the double or whatever. 150% off the lows here. So it's kind of chasing it right here, but it just looks kind of uppy right now. We'll see what happens. But I do like the idea of buying Sol in general, just as it bottoms. And if it can hold this trend line and put in a nice W somewhere around it, then I could happily step in there. I did buy some Sol down in here. But but there's no real bottom here. I mean, OBV's trying desperately to hang on here, so it's not really making new lows. It's actually trying to W, but hasn't really W'd yet. That's weird. I am streaming, right? Yeah, I'm streaming. I thought for a minute maybe I. It's funny, OBS isn't really giving me. Oh, that's because I had my window hidden. So yeah, I've been talking an hour, so I'm probably not going to go too much longer. Anybody got any more requests they want to look at? We looked at eGold. Looks like there's no questions that I didn't address. I'm not particularly feeling on my game at the moment. What else can I? Well, I mean, I have a bunch. I can just keep talking about crypto if we want to keep talking about names. But if anybody wants to actually look at anything specifically, we were talking about this Bake earlier, which I think might be on Coinbase's base chain. And I was thinking about that base chain because I'd forgotten about it. And then all of a sudden I saw people talking about it today. And then I kept seeing, then all of a sudden I saw some articles about it. I think I saw like something in the news feed and I just had forgotten. It sort of, it kind of disappeared. It like started out strong for a couple of weeks. And then I didn't hear anybody talk about base chain for a couple months, I feel like. Either way, this is a damn nice looking chart. At least the price action. OBV is a little messy, but still in divergence here. So we actually have confirmed OBV divergence. This thing looks better than anything else we've looked at so far today, I think. But yeah, as we broke to that level there, confirmed the OBV divergence, and now we actually have W's coming in. So I could actually go and start hunting here. The question is, where do you call your W confirmation? Like if you look at a line chart, it's already confirmed. Actually, talk about Adam and Eve's. This is kind of an example there because we sort of took the lows out. So the Adam and Eve, I don't know if that's valid or not. But either way, that's sort of an Adam and Eve bottom. I don't know if we bounced high enough to truly call it an Adam and Eve. Either way, it's like a triple bottom now. So if you're looking at line charts, you got a W. If you're looking at the candle chart, I guess this is kind of one of those situations where it's like, well, for one, you have this first W. So there's actually like two in play because that's technically a W breakout, right? See, that low is 0824 and this is 0821. So yeah, you already have a W working. We actually got a candle body close, a weekly close above. So this thing's basically got the green light to start nibbling, in my opinion. I think, drawing your, I mean, there's a couple ways you could play this. Like, of course, first is determining your breakout level. So whether you like that level, maybe you like the candle body levels, which are a little lower, which is actually, I mean, that's like the candle body, or sorry, the line chart W level. Either way, whichever one you choose there, I suppose you could see how they tried to check that level this week already. So that might have been the Wyckoff check and just kind of front ran that level by a few ticks. So buying that levels seems reasonable, or you could just wait for this thing to pop and then draw your fibs accordingly. So if it, however high it comes, start hunting reload zones of that level. That'd be sort of the more conservative approach, and actually one that I'd be inclined to take here. I mean, I'm okay with buying that W actually. Maybe I'll, I don't know. I could see taking a shot there. Let's see, if you buy that W, that's 12.18 and your downside risk is down to 8. So you got like 30 some percent of risk to the downside, which is kind of feel like 50% is like the max level, or not kind of feel, that's the level I use. Like if I don't like to buy a W that's got more than 50% of downside risk, for this kind of trading plan type stuff. This is our long-term trading plan. But 30% isn't that bad. And that's a nice base. On base. Bake on base has a nice base. Yeah, you're welcome, Andre. I don't know why you're thinking, Paul, what'd he do? Just kidding. Of course, Paul's the producer of these brilliant shows that I'm doing. So this is one that I like, and actually, this one looks nicer. This is sort of up my alley. So I'd be not following my plan to not consider this one right here, because basically my setup is in. So whether I could see waiting for the pop is the only let's see what happens here and then draw your fibs. But maybe I'll keep people posted if I decide to go and hit that level on a pullback. Still seems likely to get that we didn't quite get it here this week already, but seems like pretty likely in the next couple of weeks we could easily get that fill, kind of like that APT if you're just patient enough. That was a daily chart, but if you're just patient enough to wait, that's sort of what trading's all about. There's not really any reason to chase it up here. In fact, chasing it up there just increases your risk window, so it's like, it's not great. But I do like that. Bake looks pretty damn good. I've been talking about KNC a lot lately, I like, and it's kind of pulling back. Not really a true W yet here, though, so just be careful of that. But, OBV's in our favor, and it's trying a W here. It didn't quite make the W. But that's one that's just sort of stuck out to me lately that I like the looks of. And I don't know. I'm getting kind of to the end of this show here. Nobody else is throwing any more requests in. Do appreciate people taking the time to listen. Hopefully I'm offering some sort of value. I'm just doing my best here. And also just kind of feeling the sort of crypto humdrum. I'm not super, it's hard to stay like super excited. I don't want to like come off as like overly bullish right now, because I don't think that's the case. So it's not like I'm in here I'm not going to be here just, talking people into buying shit. That's not really my style, and I don't think it's appropriate at the moment. So of course these shows are going to be kind of boring, but we're just, working away, just looking at these names, trying to patiently wait for real bottoms. I think when the real bottoms come in, you'll hear me be a little more excited. And kind of like that bake, it's easier for me to get more excited about something like this. This definitely looks like it could take off here. So that's one good, potentially good buy. Yeah, that looks damn good. So maybe I can end with one more of those. Is there anything else good like that? I was getting kind of interested in sand, but it's not really a weekly W. Actually, looking at that, I was looking at that was a daily W, actually. Sorry. So let's end with one more daily W and just see what's going on here. Damn ugly, but yeah, there's a little W here, and just, there's a wider W and a little one, and basically the state of crypto the last 2 days is pulling back, so it's not a huge surprise. It looks very V-bottom-ish here. So like, yeah, if you were in there buying this W, will you maybe have to walk away and October never happens? Yeah, I kind of feel like that might be the case here. I'm kind of thinking there's fake out in progress here on these little breakouts. Clearly, there's a ton of red on my list here. That's not good. I'm going to end with one weekly W, though. I'm going to try to find one more. I know LPT has one, but it's not that exciting. But where's that? This guy here. Go back to a weekly chart. There's an example of a nice W that's working, and they did take it up already. It's like, I kind of like the idea of still hitting that level as it comes back down, just because OBV div is very much in, and this is a nice base, which is actually like a power 3 too. So this is kind of that same conversation I was starting with earlier, where it's like, is the move already over, or does this still have some potential bounce ability? And you can see it did bounce here off of basically Mountain Man. Yeah, perfect Mountain Man bounce. So we'll see. I don't know. It's kind of, but it is weekly W. Dot. Okay, I'll look at one more. There's somebody's asking about Dot. Andre is. Let's look at old Dot. Suppose we could look at Binance here. Kind of looks like E-Gold, to be honest, almost the exact same. I mean, lower highs and lower lows defines a bear market. So, I mean, I think you could say lower highs and lower lows are in progress here. We've recently made a new low. Getting down against the old lows, which is good. So location's starting to look a little bit more reasonable here. Of course, we still have the opening low on Binance, which is quite a bit lower, another 50% down. OBV is a big M, just like E-Gold. That's the same OBV as E-Gold. And no market structure W. So just a little early, like dollar cost average is okay. Like, I mean, one thing you could simply do is just keep yourself honest and patient. You know, even a trend line off of there will kind of show you where we're at in the trend in the reversal. It's just we're still too early. We have resistance up against that trend line for now. So you know, let's wait till the end of the year on the other side of this trend line and first we talked about price versus information risk in the school this week. And I'm the type of person with like altcoin investing or little lady risk management strategies, sell halves on doubles, or just trying to trade the cycle, I should say. Like anything like buying altcoins, trying to take advantage of these like 4-year cycles. I lean towards waiting for confirmation these days more than hitting levels. So like in my opinion, I'd rather pay up a little bit, even if we have to get on the other side of the trend line, and maybe the W comes in up here, and so I'm paying whatever that is, 560, just use it as an example, 550, as opposed to I could buy right here and not have much confirmation, or I could wait and pay a little bit more for better confirmation. And this might be a bad example, but point being is I'm willing to pay up a little bit for more confirmation in altcoin land, especially right now. And like I've said before, once we're in a bull market, then I'll be more likely to just start hitting levels blindly. So like once I feel like that shark setup, like, I mean, the sort of concept of the TRI shark setup, like you're buying basically a pullback after a W breakout. And that's like more reasonable once the market's generally more uppy than it is right now. I think the wind is in our faces for the most part here. And so I'm much more willing to just wait for these true bottoms to come in. Kind of like that bake. I mean, I don't know. That one's actually in. Now, maybe the rest, is it going to buck the trend of the rest of the market? But hopefully you can see the difference between this chart, which is based. And so, yeah, even if I'm buying right here, as opposed to, I'd rather buy this W right here than have like knife caught that level right there. And even though I would have gotten a better price right here on that dump, I had no confirmation there except for maybe OBV divergences, but I had no structural confirmation there. So price could have just kept cratering. But now I pay a little bit more of a premium, but I have this base to work with. So I prefer that. But hopefully you can just see, remember lower highs and lower lows defines a bear market. This was making lower highs and lower lows until all of a sudden now it's like starting to make, at least equal lows. And then there was some sort of structural shift here on the W. When the bottom came in, we now have basically 2 Ws. This is kind of ugly, but we're now working a base. So that compared to DOT, which I guess I got to just go back this way. Quite a big difference. So hopefully you see that difference. It's really important, in my opinion. So yeah, like, and altcoins are sort of split. Like a lot of them look like this, and then there's a couple outliers that look a little better, like that bake, for example. I think I saw LTO it's trying to base, but really just OBVs, lots of strong OBVs, no bottoms here. So anyway, although looking at that chart, that's a nice location and nice OBV, just need a W. That's sort of the case of a lot of these. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I don't know. Hopefully I said something of value without just rambling on. And again, just be back here every Tuesday and also on Sundays to talk these kind of things. And it will be kind of slow and boring. I'm not trying to I don't know. Maybe it's not. I'm not trying to be an entertainer here. I'm just talking about these things, trying to keep my own head in the game, being patient, recognizing that like things like the stock market look like shit right now, recognizing that interest rates are still rising, recognizing that the DXY hasn't topped yet. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to just think that there's just not going to be a lot of momentum behind risk on assets. And of course, altcoins are going to get kind of obliterated if everything else is having a hard time. I think our only real, like, solid hope is that Bitcoin's hanging on to support. That's probably the only argument we can really make for crypto right now is Bitcoin is hanging on to its 38.2 level. But the problem with that is if we lose that level, Bitcoin has plenty of downside. So like, what happens to altcoins if Bitcoin loses that key level? Just kind of ask yourself. It's like, you look at a chart like this, sure, Bitcoin's hanging on to that level here at 25,300. That's 38.2, head and shoulders, neckline, all that stuff, key support. But that's kind of a precarious level, right? Because you can kind of see, if anything, there's a little bit of a SBF head and shoulders right there. So, there's this kind of head and shoulders coming in. So what happens if we get like right up here, a little higher, roll over and lose that level? What's going to happen to altcoins? So just keep that in mind, because that sort of, if I was just going to take a guess, I think that's going to happen. I'm not ruling out this head and shoulder. I mean, I talked about this on Sunday. We have this weird head and shoulders neckline battle going, where we have that head and shoulders and then the top one. So it's like, whichever one wins, I don't know yet. And I'm not ruling out that the head and shoulders target is that 35K. This head and shoulders target is 35K. So maybe we shoot up to that 35K. But if we don't, we're starting to put the right shoulder in right here. And you can see OBV's rolled over. It kind of looks like eagled there, big old M. And so what happens here if we lose that level? And that head and shoulders target's actually right down here, basically at that green line, which is like around 19-20K. So if we roll over here, then altcoins aren't going to be ripping. So just keep that in mind. That puts a little bit of a dangerous sort of spin on early investing into altcoins right here too much. And again, this would be totally, what we want to see happen is that, to be honest. I would much rather just see this happen, big old range, and then this bottom over here. Then, at least if we're shooting up here, I want it to come right back down, because if we just kind of go into a bull right here, I don't know if, that's a little too early for, we still have a long time until the halving. So I don't know, maybe that's a little too early. I don't know if we want to see a rip right here too high, because that's just going to kind of set up the stage for sluggishness into the halving. But we'll see. That might be bullshit. I'm just kind of thinking I'd rather just see this. What would be really ideal is just a gentle pullback into sort of like reload zones against that tail. Look at that tail just hanging there. That's like very vulnerable. Some sort of bottom right into there, into the end of the year would be like the ideal scenario, in my opinion. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. You guys have a good rest of your days and evenings. And Andre saying, yeah, we go back to 20K. Yeah, that would probably likely. That's around the head and shoulders target. So if that happens. Yeah, so I'll just leave it at that and give y'all a warm goodbye. Be wary of the SBF at HNS. And I will see you guys in the Discord channel. And we did open the Discord up again. So if you're not in, we took private off for the moment. If you do want to pop in and join our Discord, the cool thing is our website now has a link to Discord. So you can just go to cryptotradersarena.com. It's nice and simple. I can just say that. You go there and click on the link and join our Discord and pop in and say hi. Otherwise, most of your priority in there. And I will just talk to y'all soon. So have a good rest of your days or evenings, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.